to this Bronikrom at Abrepo Junction, where two bulldogs were told, unfortunately killed this 7-year. On some stories they're saying 8 years, others are saying 7. But I want to go with yours. This 7-year-old boy, Jude Reko. Tell us about the circumstances that led to this incident.
Yeah, David. This is a 7-year-old boy. Lives in the family's apartment at Abrepo Bronikrom. The family has lived with the dogs for almost 6 years now. It's just about 6 years when they noticed they were being threatened by armed robbers. So the father, electrical contractor, decided to bring in the dogs. So if you look at the story, I said that one is 5 years and the other is 6 years. So these are dogs that have lived with the family all this while. So if the boy is 7 years, it means that he has acquainted himself with the dogs for how long? 6 years, all his life. So the dog is a friend to the child. That is what I was told by family sources. And anytime the father or the mother or the grandmom, all of them are at home, the dogs comes out and then play with the boy. So it was on this July 2nd at about 5 p.m. after the dogs have been fed. This time the father had traveled to Takoradi for a contract because he's an electrical contractor, and the mother had also traveled to Sweden, where I learned she is pursuing further studies. So she has left the shores of the country about a month ago when the incident happened. So the boy was left with the grandmother and then another sister. So whilst playing in front of the house, let me say on the veranda, then these dogs started, approaching him as if they were there to play with him. Then they started, attacking him. The unfortunate thing is that a few moments after the dogs have been fed, they actually left the food unattended and proceeded to where the boy was playing. So the boy was minding his business. And these are dogs that he has lived in the house with. So he thought that maybe they were there, in a playful manner. But suddenly they started attacking the boy. They mauled the boy, dragged him. In fact, I've seen the pictures. The pictures are not good for the eyes. If you see how this boy suffered in the hands of the dogs. And even when the boy started crying, shouting for help, the sister came and she couldn't withstand it, went in to call the grandmother, who also wanted to intervene. And in the process, the dogs also attacked the grandmother. They started beating her in the thigh, under her breast, on the hands, the arms, and several places. So it was a little girl who managed some courage and went out to shout for support. But unfortunately, there was a little these neighbors could do, because these are wild dogs. Dogs attacking their own friends, people who have them, been feeding them, giving them food and all that. So they have lived with them for several years. So the residents, there was little they could do. So all that they could do was to call in police. And police from Bohyen arrived at about 8 p.m. They arrived at 7 p.m. rather.
We took 3 hours also after.
7 p.m. And it took them almost an hour to bring these dogs under control. And the only thing they could do was to fire gunshots. They came armed with AK-47 assault rifles, fired 11 shots, 5. First gave 4 to the female dog to weaken the dog. And at that time, the male one has, he fled the scene because...
He went into hiding.
Yes.
Knowing what was happening.
Of course. So police had to look for this dog. And it was at that time that they located the dog in one of the drains, in the house. And they also give that particular dog 6 shots. So in all, 11 shots were fired at these dogs. So you can imagine how big these dogs are, how strong they were. For an animal to receive 5 shots from an AK-47 and 11 at that particular time, you could imagine how strong these dogs are. But unfortunately, when the gentleman, the boy, was sent to the Accident and Emergency Center at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, he was pronounced dead on arrival by medical officers on duty, and the body was deposited at the morgue. It was not until Tuesday, after post-mortem, the body was released to the family for burial. So even last Sunday, they had a church service at the Abrepo Roman Catholic Church, and then the family later gathered in the house in memory of the late Jude. So it's been a very painful.
I'll come back to you for us to continue our conversation, but let me speak to the Banahene who's on the lines, and like I mentioned, Banahene himself is a breeder.
Yeah,
he understands dogs, and like